It's always great to beat Duke, but when you snatch victory from their fingers in the literal last second of a game, it's all the sweeter. And that is one of the top 3 moments of Carolina athletics this past season.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started right now. Coming up today, we finish off our top 10 storylines, moments from the 2025-2026 UNC academic/athletic year. I do this every summer. It's one of my favorite things we do. It's always a 3-part show as the previous year comes to a close and we start to turn the page. So right here at the beginning of July, I thought would be a great time to do that. And this year it's even better because we're in the midst of celebrating 10 years of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you all for being such a big part of that, by the way. But this top 10 list fits in all the more right now. By the way, a note, I am gone on a family trip right now. So if there's any kind of breaking news or anything that's come out and you're like, why isn't Isaac talking about that right now? It's because I don't know at the time that I'm recording this that breaking news is happening. However, if there is breaking news, I'll get it with a short or something like that while I'm on my trip. So if you missed the first 2 shows of this, you can go back 2 days ago where I did honorable mentions and then numbers 10 through 8 in our top 10 countdown. Yesterday was number 7 through 4. And then today, here on July 3rd, we move to numbers 3 through 1, what I consider the top 3 storylines or moments or whatever from this past academic and athletic year. And I'd love to know, what would your list be? Let me know. Let me run you back through the honorable mentions and 10 through 4. The honorable mentions were 3, the house settlement. I know that's not Carolina specific, but that was massive in Carolina and collegiate athletics. Another was the success of the entire athletics department. Carolina finishes number 4 in the Directors' Cup standings. Tournament expansion. Again, not just Carolina specific, but this is a massive storyline. It doesn't take effect till next year, but it has been ratified and is going to happen. Number 10, the rise of Henri Veesaar. We talked about that. Number 9, Bubba Cunningham and Steve Newmark changeover. Number 8, field hockey. 3 straight Final Fours in Aaron Matson's first 3 years on the job. Number 7, Caleb Wilson and everything that he did. Number 6, Reese Brantmeyer. National champion, singles tennis, great stuff. Number 5, women's lacrosse national runner-up, just shy of back-to-back national championships. Excuse me. Number 4, football didn't go very well in the first year under the renowned coach, Bill Belichick. And so that, though, was a massive storyline, the lack of success there. So now we get to numbers 3 through 1. I'll go ahead and tell you 2 of them involve the men's basketball team. Number 3, the Seth Trimble shot. What a moment. What a moment it was. Now, I'll say, as you well know, this was not quite a true buzzer beater, right? There was literal tenths of seconds left on the clock, but it might as well have been, right? It's like right there with the Luke May shot against Kentucky. I think it was 0.3 of a second left. This was 0.4 of a second left, if I have those backwards, straight and not backwards in my head. And just an absolutely incredible moment in Carolina's season where they had been down literally, you guys, the entire game. Carolina had not led until the literal final second. Duke had been in front of this entire game. The only moment Carolina led was the final 0.4 of a second. So for 39 minutes, 58 and 0.4 seconds, the game was either tied or Duke led. That is crazy. And that makes it it's always sweet to beat Duke. But to do it in this manner, in this fashion, at home, and for it to be Seth Trimble, with everything he's been through in his time as a Tar Heel, from injuries to transfer portal to coming back, that made me so happy. And for somebody that's not an actual, like, typical you think of as a high level 3-point shooter, to get that, man, what a moment. And while I wish it had been a true buzzer beater, this is the latest game-winning shot for Carolina in the history of this series. And it is historic, right? Anytime you see the highlights package as they start promoting Carolina and Duke each season, this goes right in there. And hopefully it'll get out the Capel shot that didn't actually, like, it sent a game to overtime that Carolina won. I get so fed up with that. It drives me bonkers. Anyway, more on this moment. While I wish it had been a buzzer beater, I kind of think it's hilarious that Carolina stormed the court twice. You know what I'm saying? And of course, there was the whole thing with John Shire making the whole press conference, or at least the beginning of it, or whenever it was, about, one of my staffers got trampled. And I love that everybody's like, I don't see photographic evidence. I see no video evidence. Show us the proof, Coach Shire, or else you just sound like you're whining again, all over, just like when Kyle Filipowski got killed after a game a few years ago. And it turned out he was just fine. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, building a reputation there, Coach Shire. Maybe keep it down in those press conferences with the whining. Okay. But yes, Seth's shot was the moment. But there were other things critical that led up to it. Caleb Wilson with his dynamic first half. You had the other 3-pointers, right? Because remember, Carolina closed this game on a 9-0 run. You had the Henri Veesaar 3. You had the Derek Dixon 3. And then, yes, Seth hit the shot, but without a crazy wraparound baseline pass from Derek Dixon, that shot never gets off for Carolina to win this game. And the fact, like, drawing the Duke defenders, I know we've gone back and talked about previously about maybe you could have found Caleb Wilson on a bounce pass cutting down the lane for a dunk or something like that. But this is so epic with the crowd with the bench and the crowd right behind Seth. So good. Now, the reason why this moment is at number 3 and not higher on the list is because of what happened after it. Because at the time, this win moved Carolina to 19-4 overall, 7-3 in ACC play. As a reminder, those 3 losses being each of the new 3 schools on the road, at SMU, then like squeaking out a win, I think it was over Wake, if I remember correctly, before heading out west and losing to both Stanford and Cal, which should not have happened, particularly the Stanford game. Carolina was up the vast majority of it. But the problem is that after this moment, Caleb gets hurt not too long after. And then this, to me, was the high point of the season, along with the Kansas win. After this, Carolina, the rest of the way, went 5-5, including, as you'll remember, losing the final 3 games of the season at Duke to end the regular season. The lone game in the ACC tournament when Carolina, who had just beaten Clemson, ended up losing to Clemson. And then the game against VCU in the NCAA tournament where Carolina led by 19, ended up losing that game. And a lot of that is why today Michael Malone is the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels and not Hubert Davis. And so all of that goes to, this was an incredible moment, but that's why it's not higher than it actually is on this list at number 3. Well, moving on to number 2, the Diamond Heels fell one game shy of the first national championship in Carolina history on the baseball side. But boy, despite the loss, it was an absolutely special run, a special ride, and it comes in at number 2 on our countdown. We'll talk about that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about our friends at FanDuel. You guys, the biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game. It can shift momentum, and it can alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle all the way to the final kick. And now, FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal plays. What is that, you ask? It's a great question. Every Goal Pays is where you bet on a match and you get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. All you got to do is turn on the token, and then you get to benefit from each goal scored. How about looking ahead to some national championship odds for next year? Carolina is plus 5,500 right now. Duke is second at plus 700. Florida actually leads the way at plus 600. Michigan was at plus 750 just behind the Blue Devils, but they fell to plus 1,200 after Dusty May left. If you want to get in on that, you can right now at FanDuel from the opening whistle all the way to the final kick. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you never miss an episode, man, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Tar Heels Every Dayer Club, where you get ad-free audio versions of the show, one-on-one messaging with me, and other things, including access to my charts and stats and data, all of it. All built for you, our most loyal fans. You can go to lockedontarheels.supercast.com or click the link down in the show notes. Check it out right now. Number 2 on our list, the Diamond Heels nearly make Carolina history, winning the first national championship ever in program history. But despite falling just shy of that, losing 13-2 to Oklahoma in Game 3, the decisive game, the final game of the college baseball season, Carolina makes it to the championship series of the College World Series, the final 2 teams for the 3rd time ever, joining 2006 and 2007. Also, it is just the second time in program history that they get 1 win away from the title, the other being exactly 20 years earlier in 2006, which began this crazy run that Carolina is on right now, when they won Game 1 and then lost Games 2 and 3 ultimately to Oregon State there. Bummer, so close, 20 years apart. What a crazy story that would have been had Carolina been able to pull this off. But that last game, the pitching, it didn't play out the way you hoped it would. The arms that have been so great, just with the way things slotted, it didn't play out perfectly for Carolina. The bats weren't there at the way they needed to. That Oklahoma brand new rotation that they had flipped at the beginning of postseason play kind of put that in jeopardy. But for Carolina, this is now 9 times in the last 20 College World Series that they've made it to Omaha. That alone is nuts. Unfortunately, Carolina now is in sole possession of second place of the teams that have made it to the College World Series the most without a champion. State leads that with 24. Carolina second with 13, followed by Arkansas and Clemson, who each have 12. And the hard thing is, there's so many other programs that are nearly this. They've made it like 12 times and only have 1 championship. And so as soon as Carolina ultimately gets that championship, it'll change this whole narrative. And I truly believe that's going to happen. I'm sure you do as well. We will get there. But still, despite the disappointment and the hurt of the loss, what a truly magical season for Carolina, and one that I believe is very worthy of the number 2 slot here on this list. You think about the season that it's been, where Carolina has just been so consistent all year long in every series they play. And I mean that for non-conference play. I mean that for ACC play. I mean that for everything that happened in postseason play. Carolina lost a grand total of 2 series. They tied one other. Remember the ECU in non-conference play, they beat Indiana, beat Lemoyne, and then against ECU, they won in Greenville, they lost in Durham, and then the game at the Bosch got rained out, and it was a tie game, so 1-1-1. But other than that, Carolina lost to Virginia 2-1 to start ACC play, but then won all the other 9 ACC series, and the only other series they lost all season long was, unfortunately, the national championship final against Oklahoma. But Carolina never got swept. Even in those 2 series they lost, they took Game 3 from Virginia in extra innings, and they took Game 2 from Oklahoma. So again, the high level consistency for this team allowed them to be up near the top of the top 25 all year long, being number 2 there, and then finishing as the national runner up. They won 54 games, did these Tar Heels. They end up finishing 12-1-1 overall, heading into in non-conference play. Won 12 of their first 14 games. Said another way, only lost one of their first 14 games. And that was to ECU, who they ended up beating, of course, twice in the regional, which was great. Carolina is the number 5 national seed. I still think they should have been number 4 over Auburn. But hey, whatever. We're the team that made the College World Series championship, not Auburn, who didn't even make it there. And so you've got, which is a disappointment. I really wanted to play Auburn in the College World Series and just let everybody know that it was Carolina, not the Tigers, that should have been number 4 overall. But I remiss. Something that Carolina continues to do is just hit on all their transfers. I guess I shouldn't say all of them. Hit on a lot of transfers. Their evaluation has been so good. That's keeping them at the top of the heap. They were the only team to beat Georgia Tech in a weekend series during the regular season. One of my fondest memories was the epic comeback against USC, losing game 1 after they had a lead. Walker McDuffie gives up the grand slam. Not able to get back, but they come back the next day. Jason DeCaro, 9-inning, complete game, 2-hit shutout. Nobody made it past first base. That is insanity. Insanity. A complete shutdown performance from DeCaro. So good. And then comes back game 3 and just everything that happened. It was a stressful game. And then Carolina comes through in the 9th inning. You had the Nicholson walk, the French single, the Schaff sack fly, and then of course Owen Hull walking it off to send Carolina to Omaha. I mean, that was an epic moment. Carolina, the only team in the entire nation who has made it to the College World Series multiple times in the last 3 seasons. You get 8 slots in Omaha each year. That's 24 teams total. But there have been 23 different schools that have made it. Only Carolina has gone twice. I also really loved the identity of this team, the grittiness to fight back always, even when they were down, the professional level at bats to work pitch counts, to grow pitch counts overall, all of that, just the way they won. This was not your big power hitting team. This was a team that strung hits together, that sacrificed, that was, again, moved runners along, that hit sack flies, all of it, man. I loved it. I loved it. And it was cool too, because you had some very strong pitching, but there was not the automatic win that you had the year before, like with a Jake Knapp or something of that nature. Right. And so I fell in love with this team, and I'm sure a lot of you did as well. And the storylines were great. You had Jason DeCaro, who, had come to college a year early, started game 1 of that College World Series after injuries to Knapp and to Boaz along the way. Eric Paulson, all the great storylines there with his father having a great game on Father's Day in the College World Series. Carter French having just a strong end to his senior year there. Carolina just continuing to find center fielder after center fielder, from Vance Honeycutt to Kane Kepley last year to Owen Hull this year. Caden Glauber's magical season, going 29-0 in games that he pitched until the final game of the of the championship series that Carolina lost. But I mean, I cannot wait for what he's going to be next year. Coach Forbes just continues to prove over and over and over again that he is the right man for this job. And I can't wait to see what's ahead in the years to come, because I truly believe the Tar Heels aren't going anywhere. This was such a fun team, such a likable team. It's such a fun program. It was neat to just see, after the loss to Oklahoma, all the conversation and comments from Oklahoma fans. They've been leaving comments like on my YouTube videos about how much respect they have for the pro. Of course, it's easy to do that when you win, but still, right? It's not that Carolina went out and made fools of themselves in the loss. And so that's really, really encouraging. And so can't wait for what's ahead, but what a magical run this was. Make sure to take time to look back on it. All right, we've come to it. Number 1 on our list. North Carolina is an incredible athletics program all across the board. But with all due respect to women's soccer, which is the most successful program in Carolina history, men's basketball is king. And when there's a change in leadership at the very top of Carolina men's basketball, that is the number 1 story of the year. And that's coming up in just a second. I mentioned it earlier, but Coach Davis ends up getting fired after the end of this season where the Tar Heels lose their final 3 games. And so number 1 on our list of the biggest storylines or moments of the 25-26 academic and athletics year is Coach Davis being fired and Coach Michael Malone being hired. Now, I thought about separating these and making them 2 different things on this list because individually they both would have made this list as well. But A, I wanted to make sure to get a bunch of other storylines in, and then B, they're so tied together that I thought it made sense to take them as one entity here at the top of the list. And while this isn't an actual sporting thing that happened, while it's a change in leadership, when there is a change like this at a place like Carolina or Duke or Kansas or Kentucky, it is the biggest news out there. And so, like this changes the trajectory and whatever is going to be the future of Carolina basketball. And so we start by looking back and thanking Coach Davis for everything he's done. Yes, let's just be honest about the results. They were not as high level or consistent as Carolina expects to be in the 5 years of the Hubert Davis tenure. There was the first year, 21-22, where Carolina was, bubble level the majority of the regular season, I think is a good way to put it. They went into the regular season finale still in bubble contention and not safely off the bubble. They obviously get the massive win in Coach K's last regular season game, one of my favorite things of all time. I've said it before, I'll say it again. In some ways, I like that moment better than the Final Four game just because of everything surrounding it. But you have that moment. And then obviously the NCAA tournament run, including beating Duke in the Final Four, but also including having the 15-point halftime lead over Kansas and squandering it in the national championship. 2023 then, off a cliff with not making the NCAA tournament after being preseason number 1. Back to 23-24, Carolina has the best regular season, I believe, of the Hubert Davis era. This year, we just finished, probably would have rivaled it if Caleb Wilson stays healthy, but he doesn't. So 23-24, best regular season of the Hubert Davis era. Carolina gets a 1 seed, ends up losing the Sweet 16 to Alabama. Then 24-25, another just meh kind of year. Carolina really, really struggles, sneaks in by the skin of their teeth to the NCAA tournament, beat San Diego State in the play-in game, but then loses to Ole Miss in the way that they lost most of the year, getting down big early, big comeback, and then ultimately not being able to get over the top. And then we know how this past year went because we've just talked about it on this show. So all of that leads to the firing of Coach Hubert Davis. And for all the disappointment of the lack of Carolina level success, you cannot fault for a second the heart and soul that man, Hubert Davis, has poured into this institution from the time he was a child until this very day. Hubert Davis loves the University of North Carolina more than most people in this world. Roy Williams might challenge it, but good grief, Hubert Davis loves this university. He wanted young men that wanted to be here. He wanted Carolina guys. He wanted to make this a great place. Ultimately, for a multitude of reasons, that didn't come to fruition. And so ultimately, it does become the right decision, in my opinion, to move on from Coach Davis. And I hate that. But I mean, we saw, again, his love for people and for his university showing up on draft night for Caleb Wilson, man. Not everybody would do that because some people would be embarrassed. I love that Hubert Davis was there at the draft. But then ultimately, the other part of this story is that Carolina conducts a search for who will be the next head coach of the Tar Heels. And because there's not an obvious candidate like there was with Roy Williams after Matt Doherty, it's up in the air who this is going to be. Can Carolina coax a high-level standing collegiate coach like a Dusty May, who it seemed like he wasn't going to go anywhere? Now we know he went to the Mavericks. Or Tommy Lloyd, who ends up staying at Arizona. If Arizona loses earlier in that tournament, is Tommy Lloyd the coach of the Tar Heels right now? There's no way to ultimately know that. There was all the Billy Donovan conversation. There was all the Brad Stevens conversation. Ultimately, Brad wasn't going to leave the Celtics. Ultimately, Carolina couldn't wait around for Billy because of transfer portal and everything with that. And then the news comes that Michael Malone is going to be the next head coach of the Tar Heels. Obviously, he had won an NBA championship with the Nuggets a couple years ago, had been out of coaching this year. We know that his daughter Bridget is a Carolina volleyball player, so he had been around in the fall. Really kind of neat there. But I think at the time, a lot of people never, it's just like, hey, this is a former NBA coach coming to hang around. He'll probably be an NBA coach again next year. He's visiting his daughter and checking in on the Tar Heels while he's here. Coach Davis invites him in. What a kind gesture that is. So as the Carolina coaching search started, I thought about it. I mentioned his name, but it was more just I could see it rather than he's a very serious candidate in my mind over a Dusty May or a Tommy Lloyd. But now Michael Malone is the head coach of the Tar Heels. And man, I don't know about you. I see the vision. I love that he has full on embraced collegiate life, what it means to go recruiting, what it means to put a team together, what it means to get going on it. I love that he, more so than that, I love that he has embraced Carolina. Yes, he is not blood family, if you'll allow me that term, but he's an in-law. He's adopted, whatever phrase you want to say. And he's embraced Carolina. And because of that, I think Carolina has embraced him. A nice mixture of, on his coaching staff, of Carolina guys and new blood, blue blood and new blood. A nice mixture of bringing back some other guys to be on the staff in non-assistant roles, like a Dion Thompson, like a B-Rob, right? And I think that's great as well. I have no idea, no clue what season 1 of Michael Malone is going to serve up because we've not seen it before. It could go wonderfully, it could go horribly, or it could Goldilocks right in between. And frankly, none of it would shock me. But with the talent on this roster, I feel like it's got to be at least decent, right? Like 4 or 5 in the ACC, fringe top 25 team most of the year. Like it feels like at worst to me, that's where it'll go. Cannot wait. But obviously, again, when you have a coaching change at the tip top of North Carolina basketball, that is your single biggest storyline, unless Carolina had won a national championship. But if they had, you probably wouldn't be changing coaches right now. Although as I say that, I realize that Michigan just won a national championship and they're changing coaches right now. So I guess it's not that far afield as I just said. All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed this top 10 countdown as much as I have. I love it every summer because it's a fun opportunity to look back and celebrate, for the most part, save number 4, which was the football lack of success. For the most part, celebrate another phenomenal year in Carolina athletics. I can't wait for the 26-27 year and all the greatness it's going to bring, because that Carolina is going to be right back at it, and I'll be celebrating every moment right along with you. I hope your July is off to a great start. Mine is having a blast with my family on vacation right now. This is past Isaac saying this to future Isaac, and I can't wait, man. If you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube, go ahead and do that right now so you don't miss a second. If you haven't started following the show on the audio version of it, this is my big ask right now. Would you go follow the show on your favorite audio podcast platform, turn on automatic downloads, and let them start downloading, because those download numbers really truly help our show continue to grow and get bigger and bigger, but help this community grow as well, because I love this community, man. I love what we get to do together, and I want to thank all of you for being part of it. Also, if you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord or Everydayer Club, go do that right now as well. Let's get out of here. Say it with me as we always do. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We're going to talk again soon, but until then, peace.